I forgot to set on intro there. Then you didn't see me. All right, we are back finally after the Space Marine 2 Revenge to continue reading The Gods of Pegana, as was already spoiled by me forgetting to set the scene correctly. I'm having a great Monday. Hope everyone else is. All right. I just realized I have no idea what story we left off on. Let's find out. I completely blanked. The Sayings of Limpang Tung. I remember this one. The Yaharnath Lahai. I kind of remember that one. I think so. Rune. I definitely remember Rune. Revolt of the Home Gods. I remember that's where we started last time, so we'll be done here. Yonath the Prophet sounds familiar. We read that one. Yonath, Yug, the Prophet, Kabah? Did we read Kabah? I really did just completely blank last time we read this 2 or 3 weeks ago and not write down what the last story was. Hold on, here's Moon. We read this one because I remember Moon being Moon because he is Moon and jump scaring this guy. I think I remember the tower. Yes, this was where the asshole was calling, who was it? Moon? A punk ass bitch. So Moon cursed him to not die. Sideth. There was a dole in the valley, Sideth, 3 years pestilence, war. I think we read this one. This was about the city who was just getting screwed over. Yes, because they were trying to pray to Mana Yud Sashai. This one, I think that was the last one we read. The High Prophet of Eredek, of all the gods save one. Yes, I think this is new. Okay, we found out. It took some scrolling, but we figured it out. Good tea. Alright, this is The Gods of Pegana by Lord Dunsany. Because it's been a few weeks, this is a collection of a fictional mythology that Lord Dunsany wrote, I think, towards the end of the 19th century. So this is fantasy fiction before Tolkien. And I haven't researched it yet, because I'm waiting until I finish this book to start researching it. But I suspect that Lord Dunsany, in this kind of fantasy fiction, was one of the primary influences on Tolkien, when Tolkien went to create his own fictional fantasy mythology. But let us jump into it with of how Imbaun became High Prophet in Eredek of all the gods save one. I should turn off that and turn on that. We don't need the funky music. We need the woad music by Ivan Dutch. Alright. Imbaun was to be made High Prophet in Eredek of all the gods save one. From Ardra, Rudra, and the lands beyond came all high prophets of the earth to the temple in Eredic of all the gods save one. And then they told Imbaun how the secret of things was upon the summit of the dome of the Hall of Night, but faintly writ in an unknown tongue. Midway in the night, between the setting and the rising sun, they led Imbaun into the Hall of Night and said to him, chanting together, Imbaun, 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 look up to the roof where is writ the secret of things, but faintly in an unknown tongue. And Imbaun looked up, but darkness was so deep within the Hall of Night that Imbaun saw not even the high prophets who came from Ardra, Rudra, and the lands beyond, nor saw he aught of the Hall of Night at all. Then called the high prophets, What seest thou, Imbaun? And Imbaun said, I see not. Then called the high prophets, What knowest thou, Imbaun? And Imbaun said, I know not. Then spake the high prophet of Eld, of all the gods save one, who was first on earth of prophets. O Imbaun, we have all looked upwards in the Hall of Night towards the secret of things, and never it was dark, and the secret faint in an unknown tongue, and now thou knowest what all high prophets know. And Imbaun answered, I know, just like Han Solo. So Imbaun became high prophet in Eredic of all the gods save one, and prayed for all the people, who knew not that there was darkness in the Hall of Night, or that the secret was writ faint and in an unknown tongue. All the gods save one, that's a reference to Mana Yutsu Shai, who is the overlord deity, the creator of all things. And he is all the gods save one. He is the one that's not worshipped, because there's no point worshipping Mana Yutsu Shai, because he is currently asleep, and when he does awake, it's going to be the end of all things, because then we'll just get on to making the next universe, basically, after wrapping up this one. And I forget, but I want to say that the secret is that... What was the secret? Was the secret that Mana Yutsu Shai is asleep, or that he's going to destroy everything? I don't remember. I want to say that previous stories have told what the secret was, because a lot of these stories reference each other or themselves. But let's move on. These are the words of Imbaun that he wrote in a book that all the people might know. In the 20th night of the 900th moon, as night came up the valley, I performed the mystic rites of each of the gods in the temple, as is my wont, lest any of the gods should grow angry in the night and whelm us while we slept. And as I uttered the last certain secret words, I fell asleep in the temple, for I was weary, with my head against the altar of Duro's hand. Then, in the stillness, as I slept, there entered Duro's hand by the temple door in the guise of a man, and touched me on the shoulder, and I awoke. But when I saw that his eyes shone blue, and lit the whole of the temple, I knew that he was a god, though he came in mortal guise. And Duro's hand said, Prophet of Duro's hand, behold that the people may know. And he showed me the path of Sish, stretching far down into the future time. Then he bade me arise and follow whither he pointed, speaking no words, but commanding with his eyes. Sish, I think, was the sea god, and also a god of death, I think. He's one of the major deities. I don't remember who Duro's hand is. But because he is coming... No, it's not Dorazin who's the god of dreams. That's another guy who the other gods make fun of for being a dork. But that might also be the Dream God's trap card, because for all anyone knows, the dream world is the real world, while the real world is the dream world of Mana Yutsu Shai. So there's no one to say what's real and what's dream. I got off track, trying to remember what the hell was going on 2 or 3 weeks ago in this story. Commanding with his eyes. Therefore, upon the 20th night of the 900th moon, I walked with Duro's hand adown the paths of Sish into the future time. And ever beside the way did men slay men, and the sum of their slaying was greater than the slaying of the pestilence of any of the evils of the gods. And cities arose and shed their houses in dust, and ever the desert returned again to its own, and covered over and hid the last of all that had troubled its repose. And still, men slew men. And it came, at last, to a time when men set their yokes no longer upon beasts, but made them beasts of iron. And after that, did men slay men with mists. Was this written during World War I or after? This sounds like it's directly commenting on World War I. Then, because the slaying exceeded their desire, there came peace upon the world that was brought by the hand of the slayer, and men slew men no more. And cities multiplied, and overthrew the desert, and conquered its repose. And suddenly I beheld that the end was near, for there was a stirring above Pegana, as of one who grows weary of resting. And I saw the hound of time crouch to spring, with his eyes upon the throats of the gods, shifting from throat to throat, and the drumming of Scarl grew faint. And, if a god may fear, it seemed that there was fear upon the face of Dora's end, and he seized me by the hand, and led me back along the paths of time, that I might not see the end. Then I saw cities rise out of the dust again, and fall back into the desert whence they had arisen. And again I slept in the temple of all the gods save one, with my head against the altar of Dora's hand. I'd also point out that when he references the major and minor gods, God isn't capitalized. When you're talking about capital G God, Mana-Yud Zushai, capitalized. Also, I'm gonna explore this tangent real quick and look up when the gods of Pegana was written. Because I could have sworn this was written in the 19th century. Published in 1905. So, very interesting and spot on that he predicted World War I, kind of. I imagine he's not the only one. I don't remember who else I know predicted World War I with like tanks and gas attacks and stuff. But it is interesting that he was pretty on point with that, and not like, when did World War I start? 1908? I'm not gonna go on tangent, look that up. Wait, 1908 might have been too early, or was 1915 just when America joined the... Man, I do not remember World War I much at all. It's been a minute, so I had to think about it. Alright. Moving along. Then, again, the temple was alight, but not with the light from the eyes of Dora's hand. Only dawn came all blue out of the east, and shone through the arches of the temple. Then I awoke, and performed the morning rites and mysteries of all the gods save one, lest any of the gods be angry in the day and take away the sun. Gods is not capitalized. Sun is capitalized. I don't know if that's saying something, or if he's using sun as a proper noun. I don't know. And I knew that because I, who had been so near to it, had not beheld the end, that a man should never behold it, or know the doom of the gods. This they have hidden. Yes, this is confirming what I thought, that the secret of the gods is that they will all die and everything will die when Mana-Yud Zushai, the one, capital One, is awoken, and Scarl the drummer stops his beating. What was the name of that story? Something Imbaun. Of how Imbaun became high prophet and Eredic of all the gods save one. Okay, so now after all the fake prophets that started with Y, Now we're on to Imbaun, who seems to be the OG, who admitted he did not know. He admitted he could not see any deeper meaning. And then he held Congress with a god and saw the end, and that it was the secret. And this is how Imbaun met Zodrak, who I don't remember which god this is either. The prophet of the gods lay resting by the river to watch the stream run by. And as he lay, he pondered on the scheme of things and the works of all the gods. And it seemed to the prophet of the gods, as he watched the stream run by, that the scheme was a right scheme, and the gods benignant gods. Yet there was sorrow in the worlds. It seemed that Kib was bountiful, that Mung calmed all who suffer, that Sish dealt not too harshly with the hours, and that all the gods were good. Yet there was sorrow in the worlds. Then said the prophet of the gods as he watched the stream run by, there is some other god of whom naught is writ. And suddenly the prophet was aware of an old man who bemoaned beside the river, crying, alas, alas. His face was marked by the sign and the seal of exceeding many years, and there is yet vigor in his frame. These be the words of the prophet that he wrote in his book. I said, who art thou that bemoans beside the river? And he answered, I am the fool. I said, upon the brow are the marks of wisdom, such as is stored in books. He said, I am Zodrak. Thousands of years ago, I tended sheep upon a hill that sloped towards the sea. The gods have many moods. Thousands of years ago, they were in a mirthful mood. They said, let us call up a man before us, that we may laugh in Pegana. And their eyes that looked on me saw not me alone, but also saw the beginning and the end, and all the worlds besides. Then said the gods, speaking as speak the gods, go back to thy sheep. But I, who am the fool, had heard it said on earth, that whoso seeth the gods upon Pegana becometh as the gods. If so, he demand to their faces, who may not slay him who hath looked them in the eyes. And I, the fool, said, I have looked in the eyes of the gods. And I demand what a man may demand of the gods when he hath seen them in Pegana. And the gods inclined their heads, and who was I said, it is the law of the gods. And I, who was only a shepherd, how could I know? I said, I will make men rich. And the god said, what is rich? And I said, I will send them love. And the god said, what is love? And I sent gold into the worlds. And alas, I sent it with it poverty and strife. And I sent love into the worlds, and with it grief. And now I have mixed gold and love most woefully together, and I can never remedy what I have done, for the deeds of the gods are done, and nothing may undo them. Then I said, I will give men wisdom, they may be glad. And those who got my wisdom found that they knew nothing, and from having been happy, became glad no more. And now, my hand is forever on the handle of their plow. I was only a shepherd, and how should I have known? Now I come to thee as thou restest by the river, to ask of thee thy forgiveness, for I would fain have the forgiveness of a man. And I answered, O Lord of seven skies, whose children are the storms, shall a man forgive a god? He answered, men have sinned not against the gods as the gods have sinned against men since I came into their councils. And I, the prophet, answered, O Lord of seven skies, whose plaything is the thunder, thou art amongst the gods. What need hast thou for words from any man? He said, Indeed, I am amongst the gods, who speak to me as they speak to other gods. Yet there is always a smile about their mouths, and look in their eyes that saith, Thou wert a man. I said, O Lord of seven skies, about whose feet the worlds are as drifted sand, because thou biddest me, I, a man, forgive thee. And he answered, I was but a shepherd, and I could not know. Then he was gone. I know we've encountered Zodrak before. I don't remember if he was one of the mountain gods that was flooding the world and all the gods teamed up to beat his ass. I don't know if he's being an unreliable narrator saying that he was just a shepherd, or I'm misremembering and we haven't met Zodrak yet. But I really like this story. I really like that the undertone of this story, and also the last one, is that knowing everything can be overrated, because you don't know what you don't want to know until you're suffering it. Which the smartass in me does not like, because I always like to know stuff. But it's true. Like, and this isn't even a modern concept or a new concept in Lord Dunsany's time. But where you can't have darkness without light, you can't have poverty without wealth, that kind of duality. It's at the risk of sounding like a pompous ass, this reaches into the duality of man stuff. Now, for the, I guess, the world of the gods? If I remember, Pegana is like the Olympus of this world, kind of. It's their own realm above the worlds. It's not on top of a mountain, I don't think. It's just above everything. Excuse me. Pegana. The prophet of the gods cried out to the gods, Oh! All the gods save one, but none may pray to Mana-Yud-Sushai. Where shall the life of a man abide when Mung hath made against his body the sign of Mung? For the people with whom ye play have sought to know. But the gods answered, speaking through the mist, Thou, though thou shouldst tell thy secret to the beasts, even that the beasts should understand, yet will not the gods divulge the secret of the gods to thee, that gods and beasts and men shall be all the same, all knowing the same things. That night, Yoharneth Lahai, the dream god, came to Eredek and said unto Imbaun, Wherefore wouldst thou know the secret of the gods, that not the gods may tell thee? When the wind blows not, where then is the wind? Or when thou art not living, where art thou? What should the wind care for the hours of calm, or thou for death? Thy life is long, eternity is short. So short that, shouldst thou die, and eternity should pass. And after the passing of eternity, thou shouldst live again, thou wouldst say, I closed mine eyes but for an instant. There is an eternity behind thee, as well as one before. Hast thou bewailed the eons that passed without thee, who art so much afraid of the eons that shall pass? Then said the prophet, excuse me, How shall I tell the people that the gods have not spoken, and their prophet doth not know? For then should I be prophet no longer, and another would take the people's gifts instead of me. You greedy asshole. Then said Imbaun to the people, The gods have spoken, saying, O Imbaun, our prophet, It is as the people believe, whose wisdom hath discovered the secret of the gods. And the people, when they die, shall become to Pegana, and there live with the gods. And there have pleasure without toil. And Pegana is a place all white with the peaks of mountains, on each of them a god. And the people shall lie upon the slopes of the mountains, each under the god that he hath worshipped most, when his lot in the worlds. When his lot was in the world. And there shall music beyond thy dreaming come drifting through the scent of all the orchards in the worlds, with somewhere someone singing an old song that shall be as half-remembered thing. And there shall be gardens that have always sunlight, and streams that are lost in no sea, beneath skies forever blue. And there shall be no rain, nor no regrets. Only the roses that in highest Pegana have achieved their prime shall shed their petals in showers at thy feet. And only far away on the forgotten earth shall voices drift up to thee that cheered thee in thy childhood about the gardens of thy youth. Mouthy motherfucker, goddamn. And if thou sighest for any memory of earth, because thou hearest unforgotten voices, then will the gods send messengers on wings to soothe thee in Pegana, saying to them, there one sigheth who hath remembered earth, and they shall make Pegana more seductive for thee still, and they shall take thee by the hand and whisper in thine ear till the old voices are forgot. That was a long goddamn monologue. Very good tea today. And besides the flowers of Pegana, there shall have climbed by then, until it hath reached to Pegana, the rose that clambered about the house where thou wast born. Thither shall also come the wondering echoes of all such music as charmed thee long ago. Moreover, as thou sittest on the orchard lawns, is it orchard or orchard? I'm gonna say orchard. Lawns that clothe Pegana's mountains, and as thou hearkenest to melody that sways the souls of the gods, there shall stretch, away far down beneath thee, the great unhappy earth, till gazing from rapture upon sorrows, thou shalt be glad that thou wert dead. And from 3 great mountains that stand aloof and over all the others, Grimbol, Zeebol, and Trahugabol, shall blow the wind of the morning and the wind of all the day, borne upon the wings of all the butterflies that have died upon the worlds, to cool the gods of Pegana. Far through Pegana, a silvery fountain, lured upward by the gods from the central sea, shall fling its waters aloft, and over the highest of Pegana's peaks, above Trahugabol, shall burst into gleaming mists to cover highest Pegana, and make a curtain about the resting place of Ooooooooood. Alone, still, and remote below the base of one of the inner mountains, lieth a great blue pool. Whoever looketh down into its waters may behold all his life that was upon the worlds, and all the deeds that he hath done. None walk by the pool, and none regard its depths. For all in Pegana have suffered, and all have sinned some sin, and it lieth in the pool. And there is no darkness in Pegana. For when night hath conquered the sun, and stilled the worlds, and turned the white peaks of Pegana into grey, then shine the blue eyes of the gods like sunlight on the sea, where each god sits upon his mountain. Monologue keeps going. And at the last, upon some afternoon, perhaps in summer, shall the gods say, speaking to the gods, what is the likeness of Mana Yutsushai, and what the end? And then shall Mana Yutsushai draw back with his hand the mists that cover his resting, saying, This is the face of Manayud Sushai, and this is the end. Then said the people to the prophet, shall not black hills draw round in some forsaken land to make veil-wide cauldron wherein the molten rock shall seethe and roar, and where the crags of mountains shall be heard upward to the surface and bubble and go down again, that there our enemies may boil forever? Petty assholes. And the prophet answered, it is writ large about the bases of Pegana's mountains, upon which sit the gods. Thine enemies are forgiven. He said, go to the fridge, reach up to the freezer, get some ice, and cool thine tits. You petty assholes. It was hard to process, mentally parse, and digest the story as I was trapped in a monologue for 2 pages. But I like this one a lot because it is a religion admitting that its story of heaven is some fake ass bullshit. And then when the people were being petty assholes, he said, no, just chill out. Thine enemies are forgiven after everything. Your sins are left behind. Just chill out. It makes me wonder, because this was written in early 20th century, at least. The wiki didn't say when it was written, just when it was published. Published in 1905. Things were a lot more heavily Christian back then. So that makes me wonder if this is a criticism of Christianity and the stories of heaven. Because he is really talking it up in this, describing just how fantastic heaven is going to be. Directly after the gods say, yeah, no, hey, you don't get to know, bitch. So he just made some shit up to placate the people. At least part of that has to be some kind of commentary. But it is also just on its own, funny and cool. The saying, I like Imbaun. He is the best prophet so far. The sayings of Imbaun. The prophet of the gods said, yonder beside the road, there sitteth a false prophet. And to all who seek to know the hidden days, he saith, upon the morrow the king shall speak to thee as his chariot goeth by. Moreover, all the people bring him gifts, and the false prophet hath more to listen to his words than hath the prophet of the gods. Then said Imbaun, what knoweth the prophet of the gods? I know only that I and men, who not concerning the gods are aught concerning men. Shall I, who am their prophet, tell the people this? For wherefore have the people chosen prophets, but that they should speak the hopes of the people, and tell the people that their hopes be true? The false prophet saith, upon the morrow the king shall speak to thee. Shall not I say, upon the morrow the god shall speak with thee, as thou resteth upon Pegana? So shall the people be happy, and know that their hopes be true, who have believed the words that they have chosen a prophet to say. But what shall know the prophet of the gods, to whom none may come to say, thy hopes are true, for whom none may make strange signs before his eyes to quench his fear of death, for whom alone the chant of his priests availeth not. The prophet of the gods hath sold his happiness for wisdom, and hath given his hopes for the people. Said also Imbaun, when thou art angry at night, observe how calm be the stars, and shall small ones rail when there is such a calm among the great ones? Or when thou art angry by day, regard the distant hills, and see the calm that doth adorn their faces. Shalt thou be angry while they stand so serene? Be not angry with men, for they are driven as thou art by Dora's hand. The bullocks goad one another, on whom the same yoke rests. And be not angry with Dora's hand, for then thou beatest thy bare fingers against iron cliffs. All that is so because all that is, missing comma, is so, comma, because it was to be. Rail not, therefore, against what is, for it was all to be. And Imbaun said, the sun ariseth, and maketh a glory about all the things that he seeth. And drop by drop he turneth the common dew to his every kind of gem, and he maketh a splendor in the hills. And also, man is born, and there rests a glory about the gardens of his youth. Both travel far to do what Dora's hand would have them do. Soon, now the sun will set, and very softly come twinkling in the stillness all the stars. Also, man dieth, and quietly about his grave will all the mourners weep. Will not his life arise again somewhere in all the world? Shall he not again behold the gardens of his youth, or does he set to end? I feel like half of this was Imbaun reflecting on how he himself is a bit of a false prophet, amongst other things. And then he is running defense for the gods a bit. And again, telling the people to chill the fuck out. Stop being angry with everything. Stop looking for someone to cast blame on. Specifically Dora's head, because he gave me a dope-ass vision of the end of the universe and it's freaking me out. That was a good one. Of how Imbaun spake of death to the king. There trod such pestilence in Eredek that the king, as he looked abroad out of his palace, saw men die. And when the king saw death, he feared that one day even the king should die. Therefore, he commanded guards to bring before him the wisest prophet that should be found in Eredek. Then heralds came to the temple of all the gods save one, and cried aloud, having first commanded silence, crying, Razahan, king over Eredek, prince by right of Ildun and Ildan, and prince by conquest of Pathia, Izik and Dazan, lord of the hills, to the high prophet of all the gods save one, sends salutations. Then they bore him before the king. The king said unto the prophet, O prophet of all the gods save one, shall I indeed die? And the prophet answered, O king, thy people may not rejoice forever, and some day the king will die. And the king answered, This may be so, but certainly thou shalt die. It may be that one day I shall die, but till then the lives of the people are in my hands. Then the guards led the prophet away, and there arose prophets in Eredek who spake not of death to kings. King gets what he wants. Okay. So this story is saying that the prophets are not saying everything, is my takeaway from this. The obvious takeaway is that the king is rigging the game. The house always wins, you know. But I think the real takeaway is that the prophets are not always saying everything, which, as the previous stories have clearly laid out, the prophet Imbaun is not saying everything, and he's kind of making shit up. Of Ood. Feel like, do you think this would be a double OD thing, gang, or is an umlaut case? An Ood. I've been bad about Duolingo. I haven't done that in 2 weeks now. I've just been binging too hard on Space Marine to do Duolingo. Of Ood. OoooOood. OoooOood or OoooOood? Or OoooOood. I'm gonna say OoooOood. Of OoooOood. Men say that if thou comest to tsundere, beyond all the plains, and shalt climb to his summit before thou art seized by the avalanche, which sitteth always on his slopes. I'm assuming tsundere is the mountain. That then there lie before thee many peaks. And if thou shalt climb these and cross their valleys, of which some there be 7 and also 7 peaks, there shalt come at last to the land of forgotten hills, where amid many valleys and white snow there standeth the great temple of one God only. I gotta blow my nose. I'm getting stuffed up. Okay, better. Where was I? The great temple of one God only. Ah, nice clean nasal passage. Therein is a dreaming prophet who doth not, and a drowsy priesthood about him. These be the priests of OoooOoooOood. Within the temple, it is forbidden to work. Also, it is forbidden to pray. Night differeth not from day within its doors. They rest as manna rests, and the name of their prophet is OoooOood. OoooOood is a greater prophet than any of all the prophets of earth, and it hath been said by some that were OoooOood and his priests to pray chanting all together and calling upon OoooOoooOood, that OoooOoooOood would then awake. For surely he would hear the prayers of his own prophet. Then there would be worlds no more. Sip. There is also another way to the land of forgotten hills, which is a smooth road and a straight that lies through the heart of the mountains. But for certain reasons, it were better for thee to go by the peaks and snow, even though thou wouldst perish by the way, that thou shouldst seek to come to the house of OoooOood by the smooth, straight road. I wasn't expecting there to be a temple dedicated to the one that was excluded from all the rest. And they're all bums. They're all bums, and some folks say that if they pray to OoooOoooOood, he's gonna end the world. I doubt that OoooOoooOood would even be aware of them. TBH. Sounds like folksy wisdom to me. The river. There rises a river in Pegana that is neither a river of water nor yet a river of fire, and it flows to the skies of the world and the worlds to the rim of the worlds. A river of silence. Through all the worlds are sounds, the noises of moving, and the echoes of voices and song. But upon the river is no sound ever heard, for there all echoes die. The river rises out of the drumming of Skarl, and flows forever between banks of thunder, until it comes to the waste beyond the worlds, behind the farthest star, down to the sea of silence. I lay in the desert beyond all cities and sounds, and above me flowed the river of silence through the sky, and on the desert's edge night fought against the sun and suddenly conquered. Then, on the river, I saw the dream-built ship of the god Yaharnath Lahai, whose great prow lifted gray into the air above the river of silence. Her timbers were olden dreams dreamed long ago, and poets' fancies made her tall, straight mast, and her rigging was wrought out of the people's hopes. Upon her deck were rowers with dream-made oars, and the rowers were the people of men's fancies, and the princes of old stories, and people who had died, and people who had never been. These swung forward and swung back to row Yaharnath Lahai through the worlds that never a sound of rowing, with never a sound of rowing. Forever, on every wind, float up to Pegana the hopes and the fancies of the people, which have no home in the worlds, and take there Yaharnath Lahai. In there, Yaharnath Lahai weaves them into dreams to take them to the people again. He's very ecology focused. He's so environmental, recycling. And every night in his dream-built ship, Yaharnath Lahai setteth forth, with all his dreams on board, to take again their old hopes back to the people, and all forgotten fancies. But ere the day comes, back to our own again, and all the conquering armies of the dawn hurl their red lances in the face of night. Yaharnath Lahai leaves the sleeping worlds and rows back up the river of silence that flows from Pegana into the sea of silence that lies beyond the worlds. And the name of the river is Imrana, the river of silence. All they that be wary of the sound of cities and very tired of clamor creep down in the nighttime to Yaharnath Lahai's ship, and, going aboard it, among the dreams and the fancies of old times, lie down upon the deck, and pass from sleeping to the river, while Mung, behind them, makes the sign of Mung because they would have it so. And lying there upon the deck among their own remembered fancies and songs that were never sung, and they drift up Imrana ere the dawn, where the sound of the cities comes not, nor the voice of the thunder is heard, nor the midnight howl of pain as he gnaws at the bodies of men, and far away and forgotten bleat the small sorrows that trouble all the worlds. But where the river flows through Pegana's gates, between the great twin constellations Yum and Gothum, where Yum stands sentinel upon the left and Gothum upon the right, there sits Sarami, the lord of all forgetting. And when the ship draws near, Sarami looketh with his sapphire eyes into the faces and beyond them of those that were weary of cities, and as he glazes, as one that looketh before him, remembering not, he gently waves his hands, and amid the waving of Sarami's hands, there fall from all that behold him all their memories, save certain things that may not be forgotten even beyond the worlds. It hath been said that when Skarl ceases to drum, and Manayud Sushai awakens, and the gods of Pegana know that it is the end, that then the gods will enter galleons of gold, and with dream-born rowers glide down Imrana, who knows whither or why, till they come where the river enters the silent sea, and shall there be gods of nothing, where nothing is, and never a sound shall come. And far away upon the river's banks shall obey their old hound time, that shall seek to rend his masters, while Mana-Yutsu-Shai shall think some other plan concerning gods and worlds. Now, I'm gonna write down the Bird of Doom in the end on page 75 of, 80. We're almost done with this. Okay, yeah, we're gonna finish this instead of doing Duolingo, because there's only 5 pages left. This one, at first I thought it was describing the process of how people get dreams, but now it turns out it's how they die in their sleep. That was neat. Now we are on the Bird of Doom in the end. For at the last shall the thunder, fleeing to escape from the doom of the gods, roar horribly among the worlds. In time, the hound of the gods shall bay hungrily at his masters, because he is lean with age. And from the innermost of Pegana's veils shall the Bird of Doom, Masan, whose voice is like the trumpet, soar upward with boisterous beatings of his wings above Pegana's mountains. And the gods, in there, with his trumpet voice, acclaim the end. Then, in the tumult and amid the fury of their hound, the gods shall make for the last time in Pegana the sign of all the gods, and go with dignity and quiet down to their galleons of gold, and sail away down the river of silence, not ever to return. Then shall the river overflow its banks, and a tide come, setting in from the silent sea, till all the worlds and the skies are drowned in silence. While Mana-Yutsu-Shai, in the middle of all, sits deep in thought, in the hound of time, when all the worlds and cities are swept away whereon he used to raven, having no more to devour, shall suddenly die. But there are some that hold, and this is the heresy of the Sagoths, that when the gods go down at the last into their galleons of gold, Mung shall turn alone, and setting his back against Trahagable, against Trahagable, and wielding the sword of severing, which is called death, shall fight out his last fight with the hound time, his empty scabbard sleep clattering loose beside him. There, under Trahagable, they shall fight alone when all the gods are gone. And the Sagoths say that for 2 days and nights the hound shall leer and snarl before the face of Mung. Days and nights that shall be lit by neither sun nor moons, for these shall go dipping down the sky with all the worlds as the galleons glide away, because the gods that made them are gods no more. And then shall the hound, springing, tear out the throat of Mung, who, making for the last time the sign of Mung, shall bring down death crashing through the shoulders of the hound, and in the blood of time that sword shall rust away. Then shall Mana-Yutsu-Shai be all alone, with neither death nor time, and never the hours singing in his ears, nor the swish of the passing lives. But far away from Pegana shall go the galleons of gold that bear the gods away, upon whose faces shall be utter calm, because they are the gods knowing that it is the end. We have heard now multiple different accounts of how the end will come and what will happen. So, what was the mention of heresy here? And this is... Okay, So from here on, it's describing a heresy that's not supposed to be believed. But even before that, this is a different account. Or maybe it's just a more specific account, because before now it's just been said that man who eats a shy is going to laugh in the faces of all the gods, calling them out for being dumbasses, making humans, basically. But I guess Moong having a last stand against his old hound Death is just too cool, so they're heretics. That was the last story of The Gods of Pegana, published in 1905. The 18th Baron of Dunsany. That was Lord Dunsany's name, Edward John Morton Drax Plunkett. That's a hell of a name. Edward John Morton Drax Plunkett, 18th Baron of Dunsany. That is a glorious name until you go to the Plunkett and it becomes goofy as shit. Dude, Drax used to be a name people had? Drax is awesome. I didn't know that. I really adore this book. What are those pages? Yeah. Uncopyright. We read the I'll copyright the first thing. This was The Gods of Pegana, written by the 18th Baron of Dunsany, Lord Dunsany. I adored this. This is just a really good read all the way through. Every single story had something that I enjoyed parsing and picking out some deeper meaning from. My understanding is that this goes on to other books by Lord Dunsany. I don't know if they're direct or if it's just similar stuff. Let me bring up my downloads. Lord Dunsany. Like I know there's the Book of Wonder, which I think is his next book. What's the copyright on this say? 1912. So yeah, this was written after. And the other ones I have is Time and the Gods, Dreamer's Tales of something, Tales of Three Heem, Tales of War and Unhappy Faroth. I think that might just be an artifact in the file name. I don't know which one I'm going to read next. I also know that in 2 weeks it's going to be October, and with my birthday being October 1st, to welcome in October, the best month of the year. October, I want to read some classic stories like Dracula, definitely, maybe others. I don't remember how long exactly Dracula is. I don't know if we'll be able to get it all in 1 month. I'm just reading on Mondays, so that might become the wild card days for extra reading. I haven't figured that all yet. This was surprisingly short though, only 3 streams, so I might be able to fit in another of Lord Dunsany's books if I use a wild card day or a weekend day. So that sounds like a good plan. I will figure out which book of his is the next in sequence, or chronologically of publishing, and we'll read this next Monday. Read that next Monday. And as I just mentioned, October 1st is my birthday. I already have planned to take off. The 30th is that Monday, and the 1st is that Tuesday. I'm already taking those days off from work, so I can just stream for my birthday. That'll be fun. I haven't decided what exactly I'm going to do yet. I have toyed with the idea of binging Hollow Knight, because I watched another VTuber who I like, Lunary, play Hollow Knight the other day, and that was really cool. The game looked really cool and pretty. I want to try it. But tomorrow we will be playing a little bit of Space Marine 2 again. Not binging it. I got my heavy class almost fully unlocked on the cosmetics. I need 1 more mission, and then I have all the drip, and I can move on. All right. I hope everyone has a fantastic Tuesday. I will see you all here tomorrow night, 1:30 a.m. Eastern. Take care, Fan Gang.